So Mark here from Rock and Load. This evening I am joined by British rock guitarist Kris Barras. Kris is currently on an extended run across the UK at the moment, playing 26 dates. So make sure you check out krisbarrasband.com for availability of tickets. Kris is currently in Dover this evening to a sold-out gig. Kris, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good, good. So I was just checking before we came on there. The last time we had a chat was February 22. So literally just before the launch of your last album, Death Valley Paradise. How did that go, first and foremost?
Yeah, I think it's been great. It's been very well received by fans, and we managed to get into the top 30 in the UK official charts, and it's kind of opened a lot more doors for us in the hard rock kind of world, got us into the second stage at Download and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's been very good.
Yeah, and you feel then you saw a progress then from the previous album onto the new one. You, as you say, new doors opening and opportunities coming your way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had more radio success with this album than anything we've had before. Every single that's been just our fifth single now, they've all been playlisted on all the major stations that we need it to be, and it's been really, really good. Great response. Obviously, we've never made the UK top 40 before in the official charts, so that was a nice thing to tick off the list.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be a bit of recognition for all the hard work and graft you've been putting in over the years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the main reason I do this band is because I want to play live, and I enjoy playing live, and that's the main thing for me. So any of the extra album sales stuff, it's just bonus. I never set out to try and have a charting album or anything like that. That's not really my prerogative. But if it helps get me more gigs and that kind of stuff, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit about 22 for you then. How did that year pan out after the album release? How did you get on?
Yeah, so we went straight on a headline tour, like pretty much straight after the album release, and that was kind of doing the biggest venues we've ever done before, places like Electric Ballroom in London, and Rock City in Nottingham, like places that I kind of dreamed of playing, since I was a kid. So that was really good. We got to play Wembley Arena with Thunder. Thunder were actually the very first band, like proper touring bands that I'd ever seen live when I was about 9 years old. And so they've always had held a special place in my heart. And we got to open up for them at Wembley Arena, so that was pretty special. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we got onto the second stage, a nice decent slot on that one, Download Festival. Again, it's another kind of bucket list one for me. That we were on just before Miles Kennedy. It was just a huge honour to be there. It was an amazing weekend.
Yeah. It's obviously for yourself, as you say, new doors opening, new venues you're playing. Are there any challenges with these sort of things coming your way, or is this something are you a seasoned pro at this stage? You just take it all in your stride?
For me, like, if I could play 365 days of the year, then I would. Obviously, it doesn't really work like that when you got to sell tickets and things, and promoters put up cash to book you, and so I'd like to be like kind of busier. But then saying that, I don't think there's been a busier band than us in the past 18 months in the kind of scene that we're in the rock scene. We had straight out of the gates September 21, we had a 16-date tour with Blackstone Cherry, all in the UK. Then I had my headline tour in March, which was another 16 dates. And also we had festivals and stuff. Then we've got this one now, which is 26 dates. So in the space of like 18 months, we're like over 60 odd dates in the UK. Yeah. I want to try and get out to like Europe a bit more. We were doing really well, particularly in places like Germany and Italy and Holland, France, pre-pandemic. And since then, we struggled to get back out there for one reason or another, scheduling. And there's still quite a lot of backlog out there.
Yeah.
Along with other issues that are presented, things like Brexit and stuff has chucked up a few more obstacles. So we struggled a little bit to get going back out there. So that's my kind of aim for the next 12 months, to kind of get ourselves a bit more established back out on the mainland.
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, you're right in what you said there. I remember literally seeing your name everywhere when it became to touring just after September 21. You were relentless in touring with bands, touring headlines. And how do you find it then? You touched on it. I'm assuming that there are still problems trying to negotiate tours at this stage, just because, as you say, backlog of tours being pushed back. And then is it venue shortages, or is it staff shortages as well within the industry because of obviously so much being happening at once?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the full ins and outs. I think the UK, we've been pretty lucky, really, compared to speaking to some of my German friends and things like that. They haven't been quite as fortunate with the live music stuff. I think they're kind of struggling to get it to kick back off over there. But this tour, we got several sold out shows. There's a cost of living crisis and everything else going on. But people still want to come out and have a good time, and that's something I'm extremely grateful for. With regards to Europe, I know there has been a lot of scheduling issues, a lot of rescheduled tours, and venue availability is always a tricky one. Even on this tour itself that we're doing now, so our plan for it was 26 dates. We wanted to just get out everywhere. The last tour, like I said, it was bigger venues and stuff like that, straight after the album release. Obviously, this is still off the back of that album 12 months later, nearly 12 months. And the kind of idea was just go back to some of the smaller places that maybe we played a few years ago, or some harder to reach places that we haven't been to before, and just get out and play. And so it's like the venue availability for this. I mean, we're kind of, if you look at the routing, we're kind of doing this big zigzag all over the country. Yeah. We're down here, then we're up here, then we're up down there, then we're across here, and all over the shop. It's kind of just, you got to kind of take what you can, really. But we tried to tuck it in a little bit before, normal touring months, kind of like, the big American bands, stuff like that. We want to come over at end of Feb into March into April, because those are kind of like the prime months. So we took a bit of a risk starting it in January, especially with everything going on. But tonight, sold out show in Dover, kicked off the tours, sold out show in Tavistock. Last night was nearly sold out, not quite there. That was the biggest venue on the tour, 700 people. It's been pretty good for us, really, in the UK.
Yeah, we have been very lucky with the live scene. It really has kicked off and hasn't really stopped since opening again in 2021. We've been very lucky, as you say, compared to a lot of our counterparts. And the venues you're playing, obviously you're sort of touching on playing venues you haven't played before, getting to areas that maybe you haven't been before. Does that mean going backwards a little step and playing some smaller venues as well?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much all smaller venues. I don't see it as going backwards, because when you look at the total number of tickets we've sold on this tour, we've, probably by the time the tour wraps up, we've probably sold close to nearly 2,000 more tickets than the last tour, to the total amount. So when you look at it that way, what does a tour gross? Talking financials. You look at arena tours, bands Blackstone Cherry, so that kind of the bigger venues. You have to just stick to the main cities and hope that people are going to travel. So we couldn't do the Rock City main route. We can't go around doing 1,400 capacity places in 26 towns, because I'm just not big enough. We won't sell 26,000 tickets. If I could, then we would be doing bigger venues. I don't really see it as a step backwards. I just see it as another part of the album cycle. It's quite a common thing to go out big once the album lands, and then a year later, so revisit some of those places you haven't been to for a while, and then maybe next tour we go back to the bigger venues, less dates, and hopefully people will be happy to travel a little bit.
And do you enjoy playing, say, smaller venues anyway, and having a more intimate crowd experience?
Yeah, I think there's a line. So I definitely do enjoy it. Sometimes with the smaller venues, they're not always well equipped, which can affect the show a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't like that as much. Yeah. I like to be able to deliver best quality show that we can every time. So sometimes some of the smaller venues present a few challenges in that sense, production wise, whether it's the PA's system, it's the lighting, it's the, how the venue's laid out, or whatever. There's always like challenges. We've got some of the smaller places. But I enjoy like the intimate nature, like with the crowds. I mean, like on my last tour, one of the smallest places we played was the Lemon Tree in Aberdeen, and it was packed out, and that was one of our favourite gigs of the tour. And we're doing places like Rock City, which is like a huge place, big stage, big sound system, legendary venue, which also was one of my favourites. But when you compare the two, it's apples and oranges. But Aberdeen ended up being one of my favourites, just that up close nature, and that's kind of one of the inspirations behind this tour, really, to have it like that. So there are a few challenges on this tour. A few of the venues we won't be able to deliver the same show that maybe I'd like to. But we'll always give it 100% no matter what.
And so logistically then, for you guys, like a tour like this where you're going across different venues, like for example, how many guitars do you take with you on tour?
So basically I have two guitars that I use throughout the set. I have one like my custom Seth Backus guitar, which is like a normal 6-string guitar, and then I have a Seth Backus baritone as well, which was custom made for me. And then I've got a backup guitar, just a normal one, a Fender Telecaster, just normal 6-string. And then Josiah, the other guitar player, he pretty much does the same thing. He has a Fender Strat as his standard, and then he has a Seth Backus baritone. And then we've just got one spare Telecaster if ever anything goes down. But I got an amazing guitar tech, very, very fortunate to have a top level guy to work with me. So anything goes wrong and he fixes it in no time.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask if you had a tech with you. That's when you've hit the big time. You've got yourself a guitar tech there. You're sorted.
Yeah, he's absolutely amazing. He tours with a lot of much bigger artists than me. He does Steel Panther and people like that. And Adam Booth, he's called.
Bigger divas than yourself, then.
Yes. Well, I don't know if they're divas. I think they're really good guys, but certainly bigger name music world.
And so tell me then, obviously the album's now a year on. Have you started writing for another album, or are you guys still sort of living off the cycle of the previous one?
Yeah, so I've been getting some ideas down, some like rough bits and bobs, little voice notes and that kind of thing, little demo riffs and stuff. But Josiah and I have actually been writing on the bus whilst we've been away. We've got a little station here. Got a little setup. I'm actually sat in the room where we've been doing it, top lounge on our tour bus. We've got a little setup here, interface, little laptop, MIDI keyboard, and we've been doing some bits. So we're just going to utilise this time away. Was very fortunate to be travelling on a very nice double-decker tour bus on this tour. So we don't have to travel. We do have to travel, so we're not teleporting. But, the travel's done through the night, so it's not the kind of thing of where before we'd be getting back to travel lodge at 2 a.m, unloading the van, reload in the morning, drive to the next city. We're very fortunate that we wake up in the town or city that we're playing in, and then we've got all day to kind of do stuff. So it's been really good fun, actually.
And do you enjoy the touring part of it? Obviously, it's quite laborious. People think that it's all rainbows and unicorns, but there's obviously a very long day when you're sitting around killing time to get into the venue, get the sound check done, etc. Do you find that a tough process, or have you done like a run this long before of 26 dates?
I don't think I've done 26. I mean, we kind of have, because we've done stuff before. We've done like a UK tour, then we've gone out into Europe, and it's ended up being like 40 odd dates. So yeah, I mean, we have this like saying, like when we go into, like, it normally takes about a week, maybe 5 days. We get into a phase, like we call it tour robot, and it's where almost like real life no longer exists. Like we're still kind of in the transition because it's only on like the 4th night tonight. But I reckon in a couple of days' time, it's just like, the real world doesn't exist. You just live in for like the show. Do you know what I mean? So like you everything about the day is just geared up for that night, and everything just becomes like second nature, and you just bash through it, and you're super comfortable with the set list and what you're doing, and you don't have to really like concentrate anymore. You can just go out there and enjoy, and just kind of get into this little mode of like, eat, sleep, gig, repeat. And once I hit that kind of stride, it's I love it. Like I said, if I could be on tour like all year, I would.
And is there not a point at all that you find it tiring or exhausting? Is there a limit, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, where you start to go a little stir crazy?
I mean, I not me personally. I haven't found I've hit that point yet. I definitely always enjoy going back home. I mean, for me, like, I'd be happy doing like a month on, 2 weeks off, or something like that. That would probably be something quite nice to keep the wife happy. But yeah, I mean, I haven't hit a point where I get fed up of it. No, not yet. I'm super appreciative of like what I get to do. Another band are playing, Supersonic Blues Machine. It features Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and he's got this phrase, and he said it to me on the first tour I did with him, and we'd had this mad schedule, and we were like flying through the night, and we had to get like 2 different flights and then a bus trip for like 6 hours, and we literally just turned up, had to jump on stage for sound check, hour rest, and then we were like on. It was just like ruthless. And I was really, really like flagging, and everyone was. Billy, 70 years old, seemed to be like sprightly. But he said, before we went on, he said, just remember, we don't have to do it. We get to do it. And that for me is just like really, really sucks. Like whenever I'm feeling like a little bit tired, or, oh God, I'm not sure I'm that up for this. I'm like, don't have to do this. Like, we get to do it. We're lucky to get to do this. I'm very, very fortunate. I get to travel around, singing my songs to people that want to hear them. I mean, like last night, we had close 600 odd people in, and I really had like a bit of a moment backstage after with the lads. We kind of like, it's unreal, so many people struggling at the moment, such uncertain times, things like that. Like, we go to some random town that I'd never even heard of before, never been to before. 600 people coming out, paying 20 quid ticket. Like, for me, it's just mind blowing, and I never ever forget that, and I never ever take it for granted.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great lesson, as you said. It's something you probably never want to let go of, because when you do, then you're sort of maybe losing that touch with the fans and the fan base and the connection. So it's an important one to recognize that it is a privilege to do what you do. Yeah, for sure, 100%. And when are we going to get you back in Ireland? I think the last time was a good few years ago now. You played the Empire. Any chance of you coming back across the pond?
Well, we have tried so hard. Like, I get so much stick from our Irish fans wanting us back over there. It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult. We're not very big in Ireland, so we don't get paid very much to go and do a show there. That's the bare bones of it. Whether people want to hear it or not, it's very, very hard. It's very expensive for us to go there, which I don't have, to go and do some shows there. So it's just been really, really hard to get it kind of balanced out, work it all out. Things like, due to Brexit, which is crazy. Even Northern Ireland is part of the UK, but we still have to do Carnets, where we have. I can't bother to go into it, but anyway, it costs us a lot more money to be able to go to Ireland to do shows than it did before. Very prices as well, just crazy. That being said, I can't say yet because it hasn't been announced, but literally had a phone call this morning. We have managed to sort out some shows, so we are coming back. We've managed to get something to line up, and it won't be too far away. So if everyone keeps pills, but I'm telling you now, they better come out and support, because this has been hard to pull together. So these Facebook whingers don't buy tickets and show up, and I'm never coming back. I know. Like,
we keep pushing the idea that it's important for pre-sales, because obviously the bands need to know that people are going to turn up, so it's important to represent, because you can't wait to the last minute to buy the tickets on the doors. Get the pre-sale tickets in and make sure that the band feels comfortable coming across. They know they're coming across to an audience.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I mean, we promoters are the people that stump up the cash, right? This is how it works. Promoters book the shows. People will say, "Oh, why don't you come here?" It's like, well, we can't go until someone says, "I will put the show on and I will pay this amount of money." Like, we can't just turn up into a country and just play. You know what I mean? Let's just like. I don't think everyone always understands when they're like, "Oh, why don't you come into Luxembourg?" But yeah, I think the promoters have done us a very fair deal. We've managed to piggyback onto something else, which I can't announce yet either, which is helping kind of finance the Ireland shows. It's kind of making up the shortfall. So yeah, it's all worked out. I've literally just had an email pop through on my phone, just right at the top. It's getting announced next week, so I'm not sure when this is being aired.
Yeah,
but yes, it is being announced next week, whatever the date that is. I'm losing track of days. 31st or something like that. It'll be sometime around that.
Okay, cool.
So
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, like I say, because we always feel like we're the poor brother over here, and nobody comes across. And I appreciate that it is tough. The venues aren't the biggest necessarily, and then, as you say, the sheer cost of trying to get across now is just ridiculous even for bands like yourselves into Northern Ireland, never mind into the Republic, which is across the European border. So further complicated. Yeah. Well, look, Kris, I'll look forward to that announcement. Thank you very much for your time today, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And have a blast tonight. I'm sure you'll have fun in front of that sold out crowd.
Will do. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you soon. Take care of yourself. Thanks again.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.